Welcome to the MarinGChannel's presentation of the Get Ready Marin Disaster Preparedness course taught by Dean Bonfigli, firefighter with the Tiburon Fire Protection District. We've produced this in 5 segments of approximately 10 minutes each. The course starts with an introduction and overview of the program.
Welcome. I'd like to welcome you here to the Get Ready training program here in Tiburon, Belvedere. We're going to be presenting today a program that's been adopted by Marin County with the hopes of getting everybody in this county prepared for any sort of disaster that's going to take place, allow people to be able to take care of themselves for up to 5 to 7 days. All this material at the same time is also available online. If you have access to a computer, you can download it. It's at getreadymarin.org, but you can download the PowerPoint presentation, the manuals, and the manuals are great because not only is it a way to get through this class and follow along with what we're doing, but it's also, it's going to be your tool. We're going to be talking about having some emergency supplies, getting your family prepared, and this tool is going to stay with those supplies, and it's going to be sort of your blueprint as we go through. The goals of this program, obviously we'd like to learn how to create a personal emergency plan. We're going to give you some ideas on emergency kits, and we want you to learn how to become a survivor. Now, there's 2 types of survivors. There's a survivor that doesn't know anything, and there's a survivor that's taken this class and is an informed survivor. So what we want you to be is an informed survivor, but we want you to be able to help yourself, help your neighbors as well. So we want you to be interactive. Things to think about. Should a disaster hit, we live in an area where earthquakes are something that always something for us to think about. At the same time, we get some bad weather, inclement weather from time to time, so flooding is something that happens as well. And we're not always in the perfect spot. We're not always at home protected. We might be out on the road, we might be at work, we might be in our cars somewhere. So some things that we want you to think about. How will you get home? And when you are home, or if you are home, is your home safe? We're going to give you some ideas to think about and talk about in terms of preparing your home for a disaster. How do you evaluate your home once the disaster is hit? Can you make sure things are right, things are wrong? Do I need to get out of my home? Is it time to stay? Is it time to leave? We'll give you some ideas and some things to think about with regard to that as well. Do you know how to shut off your utilities? Your gas, your electricity, and your water. A lot of people don't even know where those are in their home. So one of the first things I'll ask you as a homework assignment, when you get home, find them in your own house. Know where they are. Find your neighbors as well. One of the things we're going to try to promote over the course of this class is getting to know your neighbors, because yes, we want you to be able to take care of yourselves, but at the same time, if we can promote some unity amongst ourselves in terms of the community, it can make it that much better and that much easier for us in times of disaster. So find out where your neighbor's power is. You don't want to shut it off just as a joke, but you want to know where it is just in case. And show them where yours is as well. That way, if you're not home, they can maybe take a look at your house. If they're not home, you can take a look at their house. Okay? What type of supplies do you have? Food and water. Do you have things set aside? Emergency supplies, any sort of first aid kits or supplies to take care of yourself should there be a need. And where are your family members? How will they get home? How will you be able to get in touch with them? Those are all some things we want you to think about over the course of this class. What can we do now? Prepare. The fact that you're here, that's the first step. You're getting this information, you're going to be an informed survivor now. So we want you to be able to take this information and do something valuable with it. We've talked a little bit about emergency supplies. You see a picture of a bucket here and a bunch of emergency supplies. As we go through this, I'll kind of hit upon a few things, show you a few things that you might go, oh, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good thing to have. I have one of those already. The important thing is when we're talking about emergency supplies and emergency kits, you want to have them all in one place, all the supplies, so you don't have to rummage through your house to find every little thing. Have them all in one spot and set them aside so that you don't go to them from time to time. My wife is terrible with our emergency water at my house. We run out of bottled water, she goes out and takes one out of the emergency supplies. Goes inside, she's drinking out of it. Hey, where'd you get that? That's from the emergency supplies. You're killing me, all right? So it's all about having the stuff set aside, know where it is, take a look at it every once in a while, and we'll talk about that as well. But not using it from time to time, right? It's got to be there in case of emergencies. First topic, page 3 and 4 in the workbook, a 5 to 7 day supply of food. It's important when you're choosing the foods for your emergency kits that you pick things you think your family will eat. Now, a lot of people are very health conscious in this area, and that's great. Put some healthy food in there. But at the same time, this might be a very, very tumultuous time in the lives of your family and the lives of others. So you might want to throw some comfort food in there as well. Some chocolates, things that people will eat. That's important. If you've ever tried a lot of the MREs or the emergency food that might be out there, it might taste a lot like chewing on this table. So you might want to try these things before you throw them in your emergency kit, because when it comes right down to it, you want to be able to feed yourself, but you want it to taste good as well. And there's plenty of things out there that can do both of that. You also want to keep in mind, you don't want to have to do a whole lot of cooking. So things that are already prepared, things that you can be able to just zip open and eat, those are the things you're going to want to focus on as well. Things that require no refrigeration. After all, the power might be out. We need to make sure that the things that we're eating aren't things that are going to be going bad or spoiling. And also things that don't increase our thirst. You don't want to have a bowl of pretzels and a bag of saltines, right? Because now you're going to be tapping on your water supply. That could lead us down the wrong road as we get further and further into our time of need during this disaster. Also keep in mind, if there's anybody in your family that might have a particular need, a child that's using formula, someone who's a diabetic, you might want to keep these supplies in an emergency kit as well, so that you don't have to go rummaging through the house, trying to find the baby formula, trying to find the insulin, any sort of medications that might be taken. So set those aside as well, and don't use them, once again, unless you need to. Where do you keep this? Where do you keep the food? Or where do you keep the supplies? Somewhere that's easily accessible. A lot of people put them in a garage, a lot of people put them in a hall closet. You want to make sure, you don't want to put them on the 4th floor in the back of your house that you have to climb a ladder to get to, because after all, who knows where that 4th floor might be, who knows where that ladder might be, if you'll be able to pull it down. You want to make it somewhere that's easily accessible, in an airtight, cool, dark and dry place. Airtight, cool, dark, and dry place. They make some very nice vacuuming products these days as well. You can get these big bags, put all your supplies in the big plastic bag, vacuum seal it. You can put it wherever you want now. You don't have to worry about moisture, you don't have to worry about bugs, rodents, insects, any of the types of things that might cause your food and or water to go bad. And you don't want to store it near any type of petroleum products. These types of products might seep into the food supply or into the water supply and leave a pretty bad taste. So we want to keep that in mind. Last thing to think about, if you do have animals, important part of our lives, important part of everybody's lives who have animals. So keep in mind you want to have some food set aside for them as well. I mean, obviously, I guess you can throw them your crackers or whatever it is that you're eating with the family. They are part of the family, but if you have some kibble in there as well, I'm sure they would very much appreciate that. Water. Water is the key to our survival. We can go without food for 3 or 4 days, but it's very difficult to go without water. The rule of thumb that you want to keep in mind is you want to try to have 1 gallon per person per day. That doesn't mean 1 gallon of water that you're going to drink. That means 1 gallon of water to do all the different types of things you might have to do in a day with regard to any sort of cleaning, washing, drinking as well. But 1 gallon per person per day. And we're asking you to be ready to go 5 to 7 days. So family of 3, let's just say for 5 days, how many gallons of water do we have to set aside in our garage? So space might become an issue. There's different ways to set this water aside. You can go down to the local grocery stores, buy the nice 1 gallon bottles, if you will. They have a nice date on them that tells you how long they're good for. Or you can also prepare your own water. Make sure it's in an airtight container, and there's ways to purify that. You want to store this water in sturdy plastic containers, and once again, keep it away from chemicals because it can seep in through the plastic and leave a pretty bad taste. Also, keep in mind your water heater carries about 30 to 50 gallons of water, and it's water that can be used. So you need to know how to shut that off and how to access that water. Don't go home and do it, but that might be something that you can talk to a utility person about, a handyman, somebody who has some knowledge of how to control or use a water heater. So keep that in mind. The other thing that a lot of people do is at the time of a disaster, they'll go into a bathtub, plug it, fill the bathtub up with water, and then turn the water off before they find anything else wrong with the water lines. That way you have a whole bathtub full of water that you could maybe use for your cleaning or cooking or something, but that you have a whole bathtub full of water set aside. So just some things to keep in mind. Now, we tell you to change your stored tap water every 6 months. We'll ask you from time to time over the course of this program to rotate your supplies, to change your tap water, to take a look at this, to take a look at that. One of the good ways to think about it is maybe as the time changes, we turn our clocks forward and backwards, that's a perfect time to do many of these things. We talk about rotating batteries and smoke alarms twice a year. When we change our clock, spring forward, fall back, it's always a perfect time to do that. So if you could accompany all these things, not just rotating my supplies, but changing batteries and smoke detectors, you already have those dates on your calendars. It's something that's announced to everybody. Hopefully it can be a reminder for you to do the same with your emergency supplies.